Good morning, LinkedIn. Happy Friday. Welcome to Let's Build Properties, Friday morning show. Last second change. Matthew's got a sick dog to deal with, so we wish his dog the best and hope they're feeling okay. So experimenting a little bit with trying to manage last second schedule changes. That's a media company mindset. Like, what can we do to keep the content going, keep the education going? uh i told uh I told Matthew if he sees the show and needs to disassociate his name from today, since we couldn't edit the show, he is free to do that. Hopefully I can do a decent enough job that he doesn't feel the need to do that. But So I know a lot less about the topic that he's gonna probably talk about next week. But what we can do strategically, I've been exposed to a lot of people using, calculation properties and the like, and it's definitely a newer thing, in the ecosystem or in the HubSpot platform, as far as just one of the ways they have stepped up their game to try and compete, at the enterprise level, and, provide users with that level of, customization and configuration that has often been happening in the background, with things like, the company and the relationships between company contacts, deals, and tickets. There's total fields, and there's clearly calculations happening in places. But I don't know exactly when they rolled this out, but it's one of those new things, in the past few years that they've really made much more accessible and more available. But I personally don't have a lot of experience creating or playing with them too much, just because I'm usually focused on, things like, if the properties that are used to calculate these properties aren't in good shape, then what are we doing? Right? Calculation property is not going to do us any good if the source properties don't have clean data in them, or we don't know why they're used, or they're blank all the time, right? So I thought, just to give myself a little bit of education, I pulled up this knowledge base article, just to run through it and kind of share my thoughts and gut reactions. At the end of the day, we do want our data, to be telling the right story. And it can be challenging when you have multiple users in the system with different jobs, different goals. We want leadership to be able to check things out, without having to export everything into spreadsheets and slides, so they can, put it into their own words, into their own story. But when HubSpot, before you could do calculation properties, that was the biggest reason why you just had no argument when you talk to finance or other, stakeholders that say, hey, I know I can do this in an Excel sheet. If you can't do it in HubSpot, I gotta pull it out. I gotta pull it out into a sheet and then do the calculation. So there's a lot of work being done right now on trying to, build that habit up in the ecosystem. So I look forward to talking about this, with Matthew next week. But let's run through it today. Just the knowledge base article, basically starting from scratch. I've seen a couple people have walked me through it, but so calculation properties in HubSpot allow you to automatically calculate the min, max, count, sum, or average value for properties on associated records. Associated records. There it shows up again. Associations. So important to get right. Or set up custom equations based on other properties. And I have to imagine AI will rear its head soon enough in relationship to this property set. So imagine like if you could set up calculations or values and then also ping, AI to help you further modify or manipulate the data in a good way, of course. I think some people are probably, might even already be doing that. But so for example, you can create a contact property that calculates the average amount of a contact's associated deals, or company property that calculates the cost to acquire a new customer based on a custom equation. Really? I would love to see that in action where it actually captures the whole cost. Like payroll, for example. HR Hub, anyone? How about that kind of clarity? So as we go to properties, let's just, I wonder if I can side screen this to actually walk through these directions. And maybe that will work okay. We'll see. Let's just do this. All right. How's that look? We'll run it. So we click the settings icon. Clicked. In left sidebar menu, navigate to properties. So this is the like in a vacuum way to get to properties. There's lots of different ways to get to properties from various places. They're also like betaing a new property experience, which I could show that real quick. Just the beta that you might want to sign up for. If we look at product updates here. And let's say property. All right. So updated property creation, editing experience. Maybe open that up a little bit. So they're going to start matching, the wizard experience that happens in multiple places in HubSpot. And I love the standardization that we're getting to here as far as experience. And this is pretty cool. I'm not signed up in this portal. So we won't be looking at it today. And this is why we're doing content every day. Like this is probably going to change, but we don't know when exactly it's going to change. It shouldn't stop us from being able to teach people and educate people on content and the strategic, stuff underneath. So we're in the properties. Let's select an object. We've got this list here. So even in, even with custom objects, I got to test order properties. Got to test my orders object here. Click. So click the select an object drop down, then select object properties to create a property for that object. I'm missing a bullet here. Like, need to click this button, create property, in order to enter the basic information for your property. So let's do order revenue. And I really have no idea how this is going to go now. I know some of the properties that are available. But since we're based on associations, this might not go well for me. We'll see. let's just say, just like a deal, just see if we can make a this is probably a duplicate, like total line item value. Let's say without shipping. This is where I get myself in trouble in the content. No idea how this is going to go, but we have calculation as our option. We select build calculation. All right, so we have custom equation. We have min, max, count, sum, average, time between. So calculated values based on properties of associated records. So as I ask, as that question, or as I try to answer this question, I need to know what's available to be associated. So let's see if I can see that in orders. If we come back to objects, it's going to be on the data model, hopefully soon enough, because we could go easily see the object associations there. Can't pull up the orders yet specifically, but we can see associations. And maybe we can see with the URL here, try to force it to show us orders. Nope. Let's see here. Associations. So again, shows how important understanding associations are. Unable to click orders. And just about to move on here, but gonna try one more thing. Probably don't try this at home. So let me double check here. Yep. And if I go to okay, so it's at the end. I need to change that. So if I go to objects, here we go. Let's go to contacts, associations. On the end is where I want to put it. There we go. Okay. So contact and order associations. And this is already like set up in the back end. They just haven't made it super pretty on the front end because all these objects, in order to bring it over from Shopify, they've got to have a default association, right? But we're going to make one here and say, order contact, order primary contact. So again, if you're avoiding associations and understanding how they work, please stop. Understand it's going to impact most, if not all, the things you're going to do moving forward as it relates to your CRM data. So now we are in back to the calculated property. And if I just want to do a count, right, and we do formatted number, I was in orders. So see here, this is one of the places where I didn't even need to do all that stuff I just did. Like if I had moved through the wizard here, I get what I want actually, which is line items. So choose the associated record type, right? Choose the associated record property. So I want to do, say this is a count of object type records with a value in the property you choose. So we need to change that to sum because I want to do total line item value without the shipping, and choose the associated record property type. We want to look at, let's see our options here. We're going to do net price. And then we are going to create a condition that says if this condition is true, we will calculate this property. So let's say, I would think about something like, because a lot of order management is setting like different milestones and tracking, like backlog revenue versus realized revenue. So there's an opportunity here to maybe calculate some different properties based on order stages. I don't have any pipelines set up yet, so I don't have that choice, I don't think, right? But let's do product type. Then we got inventory, non-inventory service. Perfect. So let's do when it's inventory. But it can't. Okay, so maybe this is a way to help avoid shipping, since it's not going to be an inventory item. So I'm not going to be able to show the results here. So I don't have any data in the system. But just understanding kind of what your options are, how it easily shows you associated objects. And this is where, so if I created an association between order and deliverables, let's say, now it would show up, on this list. And we click create. And we're done. I don't think I'm going to get the result, and I'm not going to test it. But that was a lot easier than I expected, because the only things I have been exposed to were the like custom equations, which people are, it reminds me of the habit of, we tend to overvalue and overemphasize all the customization when there's so many things that are built in. Like if you can remove that complexity, right, that can often complicate things more than need to, and understand how these native functions work without needing to maintain custom equations, which a lot of times like the most tenured of admins will always look for that most customized way first, right? And then we got to hand it off or get help from somebody else, and now they've got to learn all your equations. Like it just makes it harder to get support that you need internally and externally when you're bringing new people into the picture. So just rolling through the rest of this. And of course, if I had read any of this, So even me, like taking my own advice here, and kind of like why I even did this episode, like how can we provide value like beyond what the knowledge base, like it's hard to make time to read through, since you knowledge bases specifically, sometimes they don't have all the information you need. So when you're learning how to do something and it's not right where you're working, or you're not sure it's going to show you exactly what you need to do because there's multiple different ways and you have your use case. Like, that's why I want to just roll through this and see and understand like what was being provided by this knowledge base. This is really great and comprehensive, which it needs to be if we're letting people create custom equations in the system now. And whoever did this knowledge base article, I applaud you with these gifts and just all the showing that's happening in here, right? Because there's a lot of articles that kind of just link you everywhere to do it yourself. But just the ability to show what and how is very powerful, which is why I wanted to roll through it, right? Because this nuance and just kind of showing it live can help people understand. Like, and I hope we can get more content out there like this. It's not as hard as you might think. Like, sure, like I need to go and like do some testing with data to understand if that's working. But now I know if it doesn't work, it's going to be super easy to go in there and make adjustments, or maybe create a different property because a net price is not going to work because of the way it's being used in the line item field, right? Try to use stuff like line items first. Then once it's clear it's not, going to do what we need it to do, which we've all learned the hard way, right? The cool thing is that I didn't just spend an hour creating this calculation only to have it not work and then try to troubleshoot like through all this code, through all this custom work, what's going on, right? So this was helpful for me. I hope it was helpful for others out there to see, that this is another place where it took a while for HubSpot to get to this place. But when they get here, no matter like the fact that it's been done in other systems for X amount of years is irrelevant. Like the way that it gets presented in HubSpot and the usability, like it's just unmatched most of the time. This is not from your super hardcore admin perspective. Like, yes, I know everybody would like a blank slate to work with that includes visual maps and just being able to do anything from anywhere at any time. But most users, most HubSpot admins, I'd say, do not want that. They do not need that complexity. They do not need that that complication in their life, right? So the very first question you should be asking yourself is should we create a calculation property? What is the goal? What is the why? Can we do it another way? Right? And it sounds like, as I talk about this out loud, look for those ways where people are having to export data to do spreadsheet calculations. Like, can we solve for those use cases? Like, let's start there because they're really practical. They're happening real time. And that's a huge thing. Like, if you can solve that, and now we have to export one less sheet and we can just report out of HubSpot. Now you have another user. You have another excited user because you just made life easier and they trust how you did it, right? They understand how it works. And now we've got one more user in the system and one more champion, around you. So Hope this was helpful. We'll be talking about properties, rain or shine, every week, Friday at 8 a.m. Central. I know Matthew will be back next week to really school me on everything I said that was terribly wrong in this episode. And maybe we'll even get to show the new property creation experience next week, and see how that impacts what I just did, if at all. So until then, take a look at your properties, take a look at all these new objects that you want to play with, all the ways they might associate with each other, what kind of calculation properties might make sense for you and your organization. Find that opportunity and let's grow. Have a great weekend, everybody.